I taught Chris and Keith how to use ki energy. I taught them how to make ki swords with their ki. I even taught them the cherry bullet technique, and I even taught them Freeze's techniques, and they loved the hand laser techniques, and they kept shooting everything with them, and they said it's like a fucking laser. I love it, and they both said I can't believe that comes out of our fucking body. And then I said please try not to kill any innocent people with your powers and be careful with your super strength. And then Chris started breaking everything with his bare hands, and he said man that's so cool. And I said remember, train every day and you guys will get stronger. And they said yeah we remember. And I said if you need to kill someone do it discreetly where no one can see you. And then they started flying away and they screamed as they flew around, and they both said Superman can suck it. And then they flew around the world really fast and they said this is fun dude. Then they both landed on a mountain and they stood there and said this feels like a dream. Chris Smith point of view. I was now standing on a mountain with my brother Keith. After flying around the world we flew up to a mountain using our own powers that come from our spirits, which is just weird every time I hear myself say it, because dude we can fly around now and shoot lasers from our hands because a god taught us how to do it. It sounds like something straight out of a fairy tale. If someone told me a week ago that I'd end up flying around with superpowers and someone somehow wished my dead brother back to life through magic, I'd probably punch them in the face and call them a fucking moron for good measure. But here I am living a dream I never thought possible. And then I started thinking, if Ki can do all of this, then what else can it do? Can it create things, even use magic? Is that what this power truly is? Something mystical brought into the physical world. And then I tried my best to do something to use Ki to make myself smarter, and then it worked. I became a lot smarter, and then I could see further and I could process information faster. And then I thought about creating something simple, and then I created some food like a cheeseburger or something like that, and I landed on a cheeseburger and I did it and I said holy shit, I created a fucking cheeseburger. Why didn't he tell me about this? And it tastes like McDonald's or Big Belly Burger. And Keith said I saw that, how the fuck did you do that? And I said I just imagined it and I thought about it and I created it with my ki. That's crazy. And Keith said man that's fucking crazy, how is this shit even possible? And I said I don't know, maybe humans were capable of this power once before, we just forgot how to use it. And then they flew back home to see their dad, and their dad saw everything and he said what the fuck, and he rubbed his eyes for a second and he said what am I seeing? They don't have any jetpacks or anything like that. And then Augie said hi boys, how are you? And then Augie said maybe I'm just seeing things. Yes that's it, I'm just becoming senile, maybe. Yeah that's it. And then Augie said hey boys, did I just see you two flying without a jetpack or anything else? Because that can't real right. And Chris said you're seeing things dad. And then Keith said Chris that's not nice. And then Augie said I'm moving to a place called Evergreen, Washington. They found me a very nice house up there, it's basically a big mansion I guess, very nice. And then Augie asked where's that other little friend of yours that follows you around, that sidekick of yours? And Keith asked you have a sidekick, oh can I meet him? And Chris said I almost forgot about him man. And no, this is not the alternate racist Earth like in the canon Peacemaker TV series. Everyone is free, especially African Americans. Moving on, they all moved to Evergreen, Washington, and they became heroes working for Argus. And since they have real superpowers, it's a lot easier for them to do their jobs. And Augie found out about their superpowers and he asked about it, and they said that Augie can't do it, it's damn near impossible to do it. And Augie said bullshit, y'all learned this, y'all must think I'm stupid. Well, you didn't graduate high school dad. And then Augie said I got my GED. And then Chris said dad that's not a real high school diploma. And then Augie said go to your room. And then Chris said no, I'm going somewhere else dad, I got a date with a hot blonde, her name is Amelia Harcourt. Flashback Peacemaker point of view, they got me a job at Argus, but honestly I didn't know what to do at first, so this beautiful blonde lady showed me how to do everything because I was lost, and she helped me get found. And then I awkwardly asked her out on a date and she said yes, and we went on our first date and it went very well, and she even had sex with me, which was wonderful. And then we decided to go on a second date, and since I was paid a lot of money by Bruce Wayne, it wasn't hard for me to pay.